Hello and welcome to Showpod. I'm Mr. P here with Mr. Dave and Mr. Jethro.
You're right.
With new mics, new sound equipment.
Oh wow!
Where did they come from?
Yes.
Yeah.
You probably hear the difference.
I'm hoping so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame if they don't hear the difference.
Yeah, a little bit of a waste of money there, wouldn't it?
Well-
It's worse. What are you doing?
Our sound people assure us that this will make us sound even better.
Right, good,
I mean,
good.
personally, I don't think that's possible. But hey,
Let them try.
let
Give
them
it a go.
try.
Give
Let
it a
them
go.
try. How's everybody been?
Yeah.
It's still really hot in the UK at the minute.
It's not as sunny as we'd like, but yeah, it's still pretty clammy and balmy and high temperatures, isn't it? So yeah, it's a bit of a warm one. But filming must continue.
Yes, under these hot lights.
Yes, under the hot lights. Yeah, it's still got to be done.
Yeah, we can always have a tan while we're filming these episodes.
Yeah, that'd be very nice. Tanned faces, anyway.
Yeah, just got outline where your glasses are, Dave.
Yeah, it's a joke. That won't be a good look. I've seen the new Deadpool and Wolverine film.
Yeah.
I won't say too much about it because you two haven't seen
No,
it
not
yet.
yet.
No.
But yeah, it's very good. Definitely a marked improvement on the last couple of offerings, I would say. Slightly different film, but
From Marvel,
more
you mean?
enjoyable. Yeah, from Marvel. So yeah, that's good. And
Is it the first R-rated MCU film?
I don't know, but it
I
sounds
dunno.
right.
could be. Was like the first Deadpool not that?
Well, it wasn't MCU. Neither was the second Deadpool. But this is now supposed to be.
Because now it's supposed to be properly incorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it is then, yeah.
Ooh.
Could be. That's the...
Slippery slope.
It's the new direction.
Yes.
R-rated superhero comic style movies, that's what they're going to go for. That's what the people want, so we'll make more of them.
Yeah.
And started watching the remake of Time Bandits from the 80s movie into the TV series.
That's quite good, didn't you?
Yeah, quite enjoying that. It's reasonably faithful to the original, and unfortunately Terry Gilliam's not got very much involvement with it, but he's kind of given their blessing to, do what they do with it. Obviously with the connection to Marvel with Taika Waititi, he's directed some Marvel films just recently, hasn't he? So. He's stars in that and directs that, so that's all. Yeah, it's quite good.
What have you been up to, Mr. Jethro? Just work and
Not much.
editing, pretty much, I think.
And shopping for microphones.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. A few bits and pieces here and there, just trying to enjoy life.
That's always a good plan.
Always
Enjoy
good to
life.
enjoy
it's a
life,
good
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the point of having a life if you're not going to enjoy it? And in contrary to popular belief, I do in fact have a life. So,
Did you know about this, Dave?
Well,
Jethro having
this
a life.
not shared with everybody else.
You ought to have seen his little face when he opened the microphones and got them all out. Oh,
Like Christmas morning.
he was so happy.
oh, the fresh smell of like new equipment as well. You open it.
When I said our sound people, what I meant is Jethro. And,
Yeah. The sound team here.
yeah, the sound team.
and I'm just staring at this, hoping it's not going to like screw up or anything, or just
No.
combust
Have
and
faith in the
explode.
technology. Always put your faith in technology. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes.
Now, I have been working in the normal world. In the geeky world, I suppose, I've been doing my research on a film series, so I've had to watch all the films because you guys have made me do it.
Yes. It's worked before, like we said, so we.
Yeah. We're getting there.
So I've just watched all of the films of which we're now going to talk about. And that's why I'm telling you it's always a good idea to put your faith in technology, because what could possibly go wrong?
That's true. What can go wrong?
Yes.
We are, of course... I don't know why we're trying to make this quite cryptic. You know what it is. You've read the description of the video.
Yeah.
Dave, quite obviously, they're wearing a Skynet T-shirt. We are, of course, going to be talking about the franchise that is the Terminator. So, Terminator. Now, there's been quite a lot of Terminator out, but it has been going since 1984, so you'd expect it to be. But something we're going to talk about in a minute, Jethro, is the fact that a lot of these projects have all been made by different studios.
Yes.
Which means if you decide that you're going to do a Showpod about it, and you need to do research, you needed to watch all these films,
Like us now.
like me over the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you can't just go to one site and go, I'm going to watch them all. No.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately, does it?
One's on one, two's on another, two's on another, one you can't find anywhere. And
Yeah, because the first one you found on, was it Prime?
I think it was Prime.
Salvation, this is all out in the UK. Salvation's on Netflix. Genisys is on Paramount Plus. And
As is Dark Fate, I think.
Dark Fate is on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, sorry, Dan. It was
Because it's made by Fox.
Ah, yeah.
And the thing is, the reason why there's so many films made like so late in the day is because a lot of times the studios have the rights of a franchise for a certain amount of time before it gets sold on to somebody else. And in order to like actually make money off it, from all that money they spent into having the rights to it, they're like, oh no, we've only got like a couple of years left, we need to go make a film.
Yeah.
And then they make a film and a lot of them, especially the more recent ones, are not as good as some of the earlier ones. I think is
Controversial.
I know, new stuff bad, but the reason being, you could argue, is the whole rush just tried to, right, we need to get a film out there and made.
We need to
get money back.
capitalise on this franchise we've got while we've got it.
Yes.
And also on streaming, sometimes it's like buy or rent. It's not always available to
No,
actually
not
watch.
always available for free.
I mean, I did.
And
I
get
did,
more
I
money
did,
out of us.
Well, yeah. I did dip into Mr. Jethro's DVD, Blu-ray collection.
Yeah.
for
Which
a
is
couple-
why physical media is superior.
Yeah, you
When
always
you've got
say
it,
that.
you've got it.
Yeah, they're not going to break into your house and take your DVDs away.
Well,
No.
you might.
Well, I mean, this isn't the 80s anymore.
No, I agree. Actually, I love streaming media. I think it's a lovely convenience. But you can't beat having the disc with it on, and you get all the extra features, the special stuff behind the scenes, and so on. You don't get all those on streaming media. Well, not as a general rule.
No, not usually.
Yes, people are going to shout. They're shouting through the camera there that you can get onto like YouTube and watch them and stuff. But it's just not the same.
No.
So I get having, if there's a franchise you really love, then you have it on disc.
Yeah, I think it's always like you said about the later films not being so good. I think when the first two kind of set a high bar, didn't it? And then very difficult after that to get to those same levels again.
True, but they still tried
Yeah,
multiple times.
still tried, and they probably got closer with the latest one. I think
You
that was
think?
probably more. I think that was probably more like a spiritual successor to Terminator 2. I think.
We'll have to revisit this point.
Yeah, we will when we get to it. There's a few things in it that I liked. Let's go back to the beginning. So, just for anyone that doesn't know what the Terminator is all about, because there probably are still people that have never seen a Terminator film.
Yeah, for like the three of you watching.
It's like the people that have never seen Star Wars, isn't it? There's bound to be people that's never seen the Terminator.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are film friends, like most of Alien Predator, I've not seen any of the series at all.
Yeah.
I've seen odd bits, but nothing really.
Not yet.
I watched
Not yet.
I watched one film like in 2009. I can't remember which one it was, and I can't remember what happened in it.
Oh.
But again, that's another film franchise where you're going to make me watch it.
Yes.
And no doubt I'll come out the other end thinking, yeah, it was all right, because that tends to happen.
Probably.
So, The Terminator, the first film, came out in 1984.
Indeed.
It's a James Cameron film, just point that out.
Yes.
It's,
His second film.
yeah. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, which is a sort of cyborg from the future sent back to eliminate a...
Freedom fighter of the future, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
Well, kill his mum.
Yeah.
So in the future, machines develop consciousness and realise that humans are a threat to them. So even though we created them, they wipe us all out. And the remnants, they basically, to set off all the nukes, create World War III, basically, and it all just happens very quickly and everyone dies, for the most part. The remnants of what's left are used for slave labour to build more machines, and some of them rise up against the machines and eventually get to the heart of the matter and are going to basically stop the machines from doing what they're doing and take them out. And the leader of this resistance is a character called John Connor, and his mother, Sarah Connor, is the person that in 1984 in the film the Terminator goes back to kill, because the computer thinks if I can send this Terminator back to kill him before he's even born, that'll stop the resistance altogether, which is quite a cunning plan.
Yeah, it's not bad as far as plans go, is it?
However, the resistance, cheeky little scamps that they are, they figure out that if they also send someone back to try and protect her from the Terminator, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
So they send back one of they send Kyle Reese, who's one of John Connor's lieutenants, top lieutenants in the Resistance, and he goes back to help Sarah Connor survive the Terminator, basically. This is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's first big roles. In fact, it was.
Yeah. Oh, well, he had Conan the Barbarian in
He did have Conan the Barbarian, but yeah, but I say big roles. This was like big blockbuster Hollywood. I know that Conan the Barbarian was a big film.
Cultural footprint wise,
compared to this one, it's more of a B film than an A film. When you stack them up against each other.
One has 5 sequels, the other one doesn't.
True.
Apparently, when he first was trying to get into the movie business from the bodybuilding, obviously setup that he was involved with, they always had issues getting roles because of his accent and still learning English properly and learning, obviously, speaking the American way as well.
Voice coaches and all sorts.
Yeah, so he struggled for a long while to get into the movie industry, and then, like you say, with Terminator, that was the one that lifted him up and pushed him
that
forward.
Sort of worked for him because he had that way of speaking that was a bit, obviously not the conventional American way, but it's slightly off. And that being said, you made me think about that clip from Hercules, New York, where there are some versions with the original audio, but then he's dubbed in some other versions.
Right, yeah.
And you can sort of understand why, but listening to it, obviously we know how he sounds, but then hearing another voice being spoken, it's weird, it's odd.
Yeah, that'd be bizarre.
Just talking about other voices, because this is hilarious. Have you seen the video footage of the live recordings of Star Wars, where Darth Vader, of course, played by David Prowse, voice dubbed by Earl Jones,
James
Earl Jones. When they actually filmed it, David Prowse said the lines, because obviously they need something to react off. Well, he's from the UK, or was from the UK, bless him. Heavy Somerset accent.
From the old West Country, yeah.
Yeah. So instead of James Earl Jones saying, "You will give me the plan," it's "You will give me the plans for the Death Star." It's so funny. It's so funny. Anyway, yes.
And in the original Mad Max, they had to redub the whole film for American audiences because they thought American audiences couldn't understand the Australian accent.
And now a word about our sponsor. Are you looking to take your business or idea online? Then Namespace has you covered. From personal websites, e-commerce and fully managed IT services, see what Namespace can do for you today at namespace.rocks. Talking about speech, Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't say a lot in Terminator. You talked about Conan the Barbarian. He had 24 lines in Conan the Barbarian. That's all he had.
Wow.
And
really?
James Cameron in this one wanted him to have even less because they thought he didn't really need to speak that much because his physical presence on screen was enough. He's had 14 lines in the Terminator.
Wow.
That is it. 14 lines.
That's mad, isn't it? It doesn't seem like that when you remember it, does it? But believe it.
A lot of it is him just walking around looking quite menacing. And he was at that point in his life where he'd just come out of bodybuilding, like you say. There are several scenes at the beginning where, when you come through the time travel thing, you have to come through naked. You can't bring clothes through with you. So, you see a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger pretty much naked on screen. Now, luckily, as a bodybuilder, top of his class and looked pretty, impressive on screen. Yeah. So that couldn't have hurt his career, could it? Much.
Oh, no.
And then he kind of adopts the look that he continues to adopt through all the films, which is, the leather jackets and so on, sunglasses.
Yeah.
Although I do like in the last one, Dark Fate, you were saying you quite liked it. There is a bit where he goes to pick the glasses on and then changes his mind, just leaves them behind,
Yeah.
which I thought was quite a nice moment because he's a different Terminator then.
Like they all have their own almost personalities.
Yeah, yeah, we'll come to Dark Fate, but the Terminator did really well. It was really well received.
What I feel that made the original like unique, especially compared to the later ones, was the more the horror aspect. You had the body horror of obviously if you've seen like any modern DVD cover art, you know that what the Terminator looks like. But if you're watching this film without any first impressions, and then seeing him like cut part of his eye out and open his
the arm and
yes,
things, yeah.
all those effects, it's like, oh, what's happening there?
Which were all practical effects.
Yes, yes. And again, looking at this film, it's almost like structured like a slasher film. You know, sort of like a
The monster's going to get me.
yeah, or like say Halloween. You had Michael Myers killing off people one by one before stalking and trying to kill our main protagonist, who then ends up killing him in the end.
Yeah,
It
very
feels-
similar to that, and perhaps you could even say like Jason Voorhees
Yes.
from Friday the 13th, where it's just something that just keeps coming and keeps swinging at you.
Almost inhuman.
Yeah,
Where in this, he's literally inhuman. So there's a lot of that. So yeah, I would say Terminator, the first Terminator, is definitely more of a horror film, especially compared to the later films. I don't.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I'd probably agree with that. I think I think there's definite parallels there, isn't there, with the first one, like we've just said, and like you say, even like the dark kind of foreboding feel about it as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when the Terminator appears, it's like late at night, and there's like the lightning and everything. Like you said, there's definitely that kind of slight unnerving scare element in there all the way through, isn't there?
Mm.
When we go into Terminator 2, well, actually, Terminator 2 then, it comes around in 91. Very, very anticipated because the first one was so loved. And what I like about this is, in the first film, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator was pretty indestructible.
Mm.
He was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Okay. And at the end of it, literally the only thing they ended up doing was crushing him in a press, wasn't it? But yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just watched them all in one go. And when you've watched everything all in one go, it sometimes jumbles up. So I will keep just checking with our Terminator expert, Mr. Jethro, whether I'm talking
Terminator
about
adjudicator.
That's right, yeah. So they ended up pressing him in an industrial press, which crushed the robot. That's the only thing they could do. When you get to T2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, there's a new Terminator out and a more advanced model.
Yeah.
Now, this was an interesting idea, but I think later on it started to get a bit silly, especially when you got to T3. I think that was.
Oh, but in T2 it was an interesting idea.
It was an interesting idea,
Okay.
and you had it was almost made from living metal. At this point, and Robert Patrick played the T1000, which is the next model up. Now, this is an interesting point. So, if the T1000 is the next one up, which one's Arnie? We don't find out till Terminator Salvation that is actually a T800 model.
Oh no, Beta
Is that
Cannon. No, Beta Cannon. I think it was revealed in a teaser for Terminator 2 that he was the T800 Model 101.
Right. He always says he's called Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. That's in the first film. That's what he actually says. I didn't realise... There might have been a teaser then, but I don't think on screen it ever actually... In a film it got there till Salvation, and they said it was
I don't think
T800.
so.
Maybe
He
not.
called himself the T88 in Terminator 3 because it was a different
Okay.
a different Terminator, but the same model.
Yeah. So potentially, because there's a funny line about, oh, you guys just come off a production line then, do you? And he's like, yes. But just like computers, they obviously upgrade, and so
Yeah.
it's an 800 series Terminator, whereas this one was a T1000.
It was a very interesting evolution as well, wasn't it, from that up to the T1000, and making something that's even more deadly, that's even more sort of cunning, and can get into all kinds of places that the previous one couldn't get to, and turn into different people, into objects, and all kinds of things.
And just like can change his arm into like a sword or a knife,
Yeah.
and just instantly go,
Yeah.
which is far more deadly than the T800 or what the T800 can
Yeah.
ever do.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
It was kind of like from like one level to like game changer, wasn't it?
Yes.
Really, that leap between those two.
And had there been anything like that in cinema before?
Probably not. That kind of technology, that kind of visual effect, you saw a little bit more of that kind of thing through the 90s, didn't you, in TV shows?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine. They used
Yeah.
the exact same studio that did it for the T1000 as they did in Deep Space
For
Nine.
Odo.
Yeah.
Odo's a shapeshifter in Deep Space Nine, so he can change into different things.
Or is he?
Portrayed wonderfully, of course, by René Auberjonois.
Yeah, it's the late to René Auberjonois.
So, the thing I loved about Robert Patrick's portrayal as the T1000 is he was relentless. And now in the first one, Arnie's relentless. He just keeps going and going and going and going and going till because that's the job. That's his programming. The lovely twist on the second one is they send a T800 model back to protect John Connor and his mum, because now he's born. John Connor's born now. Because they figure, well, we'll go back and send the newest model back. So he goes. He's sent back to protect them, which is a fun twist. That now the one that looks like the one that was trying to murder your mum in the first one is now the one protecting you in the second one.
Yeah.
And throughout the franchise, there's this little bit of a thing where they'll keep talking to it like it's the first one. And of course, he won't respond as though the first one, because it's not the first one. The first one got destroyed. And yeah, and he's still sort of they almost play the Terminator, the T800 in the second one a bit clunky and a bit obsolete, because it is. The T1000's new. He gets beaten up quite a lot quite quickly in these films, doesn't he? They just want to get those robot bits on him. Obviously the physical effects teams really want to get their bits on him quite quickly, so they.
Especially seeing with the arm where he just goes and then just rips off the
He ends up
flesh.
with his arms being ripped off quite a bit in these films. At least one arm.
But to show like his endoskeleton to Dyson.
He dissects it properly, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Takes it off. So in the second one then, so in the first one, the idea is they're going to turn on this, in the future, the systems will take over and Judgment Day happens. And the person that's going to stop the resistance is John Connor. So what happens is that the Terminator sent back to stop it. In T2, because they didn't stop Judgment Day in the first one, did they?
No.
They didn't actually stop it as such.
Interesting thing with that, there was actually a deleted scene in Terminator 1 where Sarah Connor and Carl Reese were talking about it, and she mentions that why don't they just stop Judgment Day from happening, considering they now know what's going to happen. And obviously that didn't end up in the final cut, but that was almost like the seed for the later half of Terminator 2, yeah.
Well, in T2, we find out at the beginning that they have been trying to stop it. They've been getting ready to stop it. It's been training. It's been getting him ready to do his role, but also at the same time, they know the date is going to happen. So it's kind of getting ready for that date. They don't think about doing it until later in the film, though, do they?
No, yeah, because
they didn't know where it was going to happen. They only knew when. Is that right?
Yeah, but then I'm trying to remember now.
Why are you thinking about it? What I was going to say earlier about the obsolete model and the fact that the T1000 is so good is Robert Patrick trained to run as fast as he did in the film. I forget who he trained with. I went on this bit of research, but I remember reading it before. He trained with someone, either the Olympic team or someone. They trained him with some Olympians or whatever, runners. And he got to the point where he could control his breath so well and run so fast they had to start slowing him down because he was catching up too quickly with everything when they were filming it.
Right.
So it was running so quick, and you see him on the screen. That's not sped up. It's him running that fast.
Oh yeah.
It was catching up with the cars and stuff that's running because he was just running so quick, and it just made it look awesome.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, that another element of that relentless pursuit that was on about earlier. But I think the original feeling that I think everybody had in like the first couple of films is like you're thinking, when are we going to get to like the war? When are we going to get to Judgment Day? When are we going to see those elements? And I think it was quite good in a way that they did kind of slowly drip that in as the films went on, rather than going straight to it.
What I like also is the fact that in T2 they stopped Judgment Day, right?
Yeah.
But then you get to T3 and it's like, well, actually you didn't stop it, you just delayed it.
Yeah.
Stopping it there meant that it happened a bit later on.
Yeah, I mean,
It was wishy-washy. A lot of people have got mixed emotions about T3.
It is almost as if they needed an excuse to have a sequel, so they'd be like, well, let's invalidate the end of Terminator 2. And depending on which version of Terminator 2 you watch, you can have a scene where Sarah Connor is an old woman at the end, watching an adult John Connor push his son on the swings in the park. And that was sort of like the end where it's like, they've stopped Judgment Day, and everything's all right now. Terminator 3.
Which version was that in? I don't think I watched that.
It's either the special edition or the extended special edition.
Maybe it's one of the ones I didn't watch there.
Did you watch the theatrical or special?
Can't remember. But either way, I don't remember that bit.
Yeah, it wasn't in the theatrical.
So you get to T3 and they kind of retcon that scene anyway. And kind of say, well, you didn't stop it, you just delayed it. And again, in 3 we get another Terminator comes back.
Another one, yeah.
Another one, which was a female Terminator, the TX. Again, she was a lot more like Robert Patrick's Terminator, I think.
Yeah.
Again, with the technology could change. I think they went a little bit too far with this one. He just seemed to be one substance that had been created.
Yeah.
She was she could split herself into 2 bits and all sorts. It just became a bit silly.
It was like the endoskeleton with the liquid metal.
Yeah. And it's like, I get it. Why not have that upgrade keeping both? But it just got a bit silly. She's like, one bit's doing one thing, one bit's doing another. And all of a sudden you've created a Terminator that, quite frankly, should absolutely win. They should not win at all. She should win.
Yeah,
to be fair, Robert Patrick's Terminator should have won.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, they win more like through luck and good luck than judgment a lot of the time. But then you've got again this unstoppable force, and you've got Arnie T800 model protecting her again, and it just like it's a bit samey, weren't it? It's a different Judgment Day. Let's do it all again.
Yeah, let's just push it back or push it back again and that. Which I mean, it is another question. It's established in the first film that nothing dead can go, hence they're all naked, and like clothes, weapons can't be transported back in time. So why can the T1000 and TX travel back in time? They're not coated in living tissue, are they?
No, but is it because it's living metal, or is it just because the machines are adapted to it and can send its...
So why not do that with the first one and send a machine that's adapted to kill Sarah Connor in the first one?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I've had an idea we should make the film again.
Which one?
All of them. We should retcon the entire series and do our own, where we send the most advanced one back and it kills them within the first 5 minutes.
Right, it's going to be a short, is it?
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing I would say to that is, Jethro, because you can't have this many films and scripts if you just say, why don't they just do the obvious? Can you?
Yeah, true.
I guess.
True.
So why are they naked?
Because it plays well on TV.
Right, okay.
Naked sells, apparently.
Yes.
It is an interesting one because it's quite funny because you get the jokes about pinching all the clothes, don't you, and that kind of thing, which is always quite funny. You can expect it. But they carried that through all the way through, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, even not just the film. Summer Glau and the Sarah Connor Chronicles turned up naked at the beginning.
Well, they all did.
They all did. So it's like, you know, let's put T3 aside a second because it's pretty much just T1 and 2 mixed together and redone again.
The highlight of T3, in my opinion, is the end.
What, when it finishes and you watch the credits?
Hey, no. You expect them to stop Judgment Day again and win and like, you know, happily ever after and all that, but that doesn't happen. It's like, no, the end of the world has come, and this is now like playing into what we have typically known before, and it's almost as if that this melancholy ending is almost this sense of inevitability really subverts your expectations. And as much as I was tepid on the whole film, I liked the ending personally.
It's the spoiler alert, but at the end. They go to where they believe the computer is they need to destroy. They've got the explosives, they're there, the plan's ready, great, we can do it. And the Terminator, Arnie's Terminator's pretty much sacrificed himself just to get them there. And then right at the end you discover it's actually a bunker and he just wants them safe so that when it happens, because it's got to happen, they can then go on and take on the machines after Judgment Day later on. So and they're like, well, where is it? And then it dawns on them that the Terminator's plan all along was to keep him safe. That was his program. It wasn't, oh yeah, okay, let's change our mind and take on the machine then. He just played along. He needed to keep him safe, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And
that was the protocol. That was the mission.
Yeah, when you look at it in pure programming, that he did what it says on the tin. And he ended up taking out the other Terminator as well. Again, she went a bit quick if you ask me, but anyway.
The enemies are kind of a little bit overpowered, aren't they? I think some of these.
So we've had Terminator 84, Terminator 2 came out in 91, we've had Terminator Rise of the Machines in 2003. We then had a short break till 2008 before we got any more Terminator again, which was the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Now we're going to just skim over this really quickly because they didn't, they cancelled it.
Was it just 2 seasons they made? Or
it was 2 series. Well, it spread over 2 series. It was 31 episodes. I didn't realise it was that many. I thought it was a lot shorter. But anyway, I started watching it way back in the day and was quite enjoying it. And then I found out that they'd cancelled it. And they hadn't wrapped up the storyline, they just stopped it. And at that point, I just stopped watching it because I thought, I don't want to get that invested in this, that I get to the end and then I'll be so disappointed that there's no more.
There's no more to carry on.
So, yeah, I mean, they could you could have given me like a TV movie then just to kind of wrap the story up and move it on into the next one sort of thing. But they don't do that sort of thing now. Studios don't really care about what fans want out of a project. And I say that completely. They just don't care. They only care about what fans will pay to watch it. And that's the world we're living in, unfortunately.
Well, we've said it about series in the past, haven't we, where it's been an exception to the rule and they've actually made a final 3 or 4 episodes, haven't they, to finish it off.
It's rare.
Yeah,
but it
sometimes. They did it with Continuum. They did it with Lucifer to an extent.
Well, with Lucifer, there was a massive online fan petition, even with Killjoys a bit, to say, come on, let's do it right. The studios have to listen when you've got millions of fans watching this thing coming at you, especially now in the advent of social media. It's a lot easier to get that message to the people at the studios. So Sarah Connor Chronicles, like I said, did just the 31 episodes, didn't wrap the story up, but it was interesting because it's just, what can we do with the franchise? Let's do a series. And it was a female Terminator played by Summer Glau who came back to protect them. There were links to the films throughout.
Ignoring Terminator 3, which is a bit of a theme, I think. Where the next instalment always ignores the immediate previous instalment.
It was good. It was fun. They should have made more. If not made more, they should have at least given it a good full 2 series with a wrap up and a story. So it kind of ends and you get a little bit of closure with it. Even if it leaves a few threads open for later on or for a film to pick up, that would have been nice just to have some storyline wrapped up, but it didn't. Maybe the reason was because only a year later Terminator Salvation came out in 2009.
Yes.
Now,
Which I completely ignored the immediately previous instalment of.
yeah,
Yes.
of course. This one with Christian Bale.
Yes.
That's right.
Now, this is the only one I haven't watched. Honesty disclaimer in this rewatch.
Oh, okay. But you have seen it before.
I've seen it before.
Okay.
Watched it at the cinema, but I didn't watch it. So it was a long time ago. But I haven't watched it on this rewatch because I only had time to get so many in.
Yeah.
Now, this one, if I remember correctly, was predominantly set in the future, post Judgment Day.
Yes.
With
Completely
them-
set that.
Yeah, with them. Thank you. Trying to take her out of the machines. Basically, that was what it was.
Yes.
So it was almost like a step back from the franchise that we'd seen already, and a quick and sort of a little look at what was actually happening in the future that we keep getting these things sent back from, which is an interesting idea. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was a completely different feel to any of the other films because, well, it was in a completely different time, a completely different landscape. What's your thoughts on it, Jethro? Because you're obviously more up on.
I've always been a bit tepid on it. It's always, up until that point, it was always been my least favourite. I know an interesting caveat there, but it seemed to be a bit more grounded for some reason, and not for reasons I thought were necessarily warranted. Like the Reagan weapons, the purple.
You're all right there, Mr. Dave. Are we keeping you awake?
Yeah, it's late night last night.
Was it?
All the lasers, pew, 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 all the futuristic weapons, not there. It was just conventional, like weapons that you say we could that are around today, or at least back then. And it just seemed to be a bit. I'll just hit the microphone as well now. It's
I think what you're saying is,
a bit
on
meh.
paper, it was probably a good idea that they
On
just
paper,
executed
yeah.
a bit. Not
The
quite well.
worst I can say about it is that it was a bit boring. Which, honestly, I would say is worse than bad. I'd rather a film be bad than boring. And this one, I found boring.
There's a line from was it Christopher Lee that said might be Christopher Lee. He said we all have to do bad films from time to time. The trick is to not be bad in it.
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, I don't think many people were bad in it. We had, obviously, Christian Bale, who I thought did an alright job. We had Anton Yelchin, who he was good as a young Kyle Reese. And Sam Worthington.
Yes, wasn't it?
Now, I thought his character was probably like the highlight of the film, and I think the trailers did a disservice. That there's always been this theme of Terminator films giving away the spoilers in the trailers.
Right.
Terminator 2, the twist, alright, just was near the beginning. The twist that Arnie's Terminator was a good guy, that was in the trailer, forgivable. Terminator 3, the twist at the end, where the world just ends, that was in the trailer.
Right.
Which is not forgivable because it's right at the very end. And Terminator Salvation, the fact that, spoiler alert, Sam Worthington's character is in fact a Terminator but doesn't know it,
So Marcus Wright.
is in the trailer.
Right.
And if we're going to skip forward as well in Terminator Genisys, the fact that John Connor has been replaced by a Terminator is also in the trailer.
Yeah, there's a lot of big spoilers there, isn't there, being thrown at you straight away.
There's a theme going on.
I
around it.
love watching trailers, and I would love watching trailers because of the way that they were originally intended. It gives you a peek at the thing, shows you what it's like, but the idea don't give away what's
No.
the whole point of going to the, because then what's the point in going? It's going to
Yeah,
waste
you've
everything.
seen all the best bits.
Yeah.
already.
It's, I mean, just to go off topic, have you ever seen trailers from like the 70s, films in the 70s?
Yeah,
Where they
odd
go
ones.
on for ages and they just go through the whole film with the narrator just talking about the film beat by beat while I show clip and clip and clip, and it's like, well, what's the point? You've just had an entire summary as your
Yeah.
trailer.
That was the origins of YouTube Shorts, wasn't it? It's, essentially, that's what that was.
Yes.
Well, look, we're gonna take a short break now.
Are we?
Because it's time for me and Mr. Dave to put our heads together in a battle of wits, as we have our geeky quiz, Mr. Dave.
Yes, the geeky guys, geeky game. It's that time again.
It's that time, Miss. If you don't know what's happening, Mr. Jethro prepares a set of questions, and myself and Dave go head to head to try and answer as many as we can. So let's go over to the geeky quiz to see who wins this time.
Let's go do this.
Question number 1. How long was Arnold Schwarzenegger the governor of California?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know.
6 years.
Do you have a guess? It'll be closest wins.
In my head, I'm trying to think how long you actually, because if you, like government's like in power 4 years, so I'm assuming it's 4 years. But was he in once or twice? Got to be 2 times. 8 years.
Yes.
Oh, well done. It was around that ballpark between 6 and 10.
Okay, question number 2. How many Trek roles did David Warner play?
Oh no. It stumped me on a Star Trek question.
5.
No.
I don't know. It's probably more, but I'm going to go 4.
No. The correct answer is 3.
Oh.
Oh,
It was in Star Trek 5, Star Trek 6, and the 2-part Chain of Command in TNG.
Oh, blimey. Every day is a learning day.
Question number 3. Which Star Trek director directed the 2004 Thunderbirds film?
Jonathan Frakes.
Yes. Question number 4. What is the Alcubierre drive? Yep.
Theoretical warp engine.
Correct. So question number 5. During the 7th season of Stargate SG-1, the team were looking for the lost city of what?
Atlantis.
Correct. Question number 6. Who did Katie Sackhoff play in the reimagined Battlestar Galactica?
Not really watched much of that. to be
I
fair.
haven't. I don't know. I assume it's the same sort of outfit she wears in Big Bang Theory. In the dream sequence with
Yes.
Howard Wolowitz.
Yes.
But I can't. He always says Katie Sackhoff. He never says a character's name, does he? I don't think.
I'll give you a clue. The same character in the original series was male.
Oh, okay. So, is it the same name?
Same name.
So is it Starbuck,
Yes.
played by good old Templeton Peck?
Ah, yes.
Um,
yes.
Dirk Benedict in the original.
Question number 7. In Blade Runner 2049, which replicant model was Officer K?
3.
No.
I don't know. And I watched
Damn
it and
it,
actually
I
quite
remember.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, watched it not that long ago. That's the crazy thing, isn't it? Just think we're going to have to pass.
Go on, you're going to have to put us out of misery.
So Nexus 9.
Nexus
Nexus
9.
Question number 8. What is Mad Max's last name?
Gibson.
No. Worth a shot.
Well, technically, it's true. I have no idea.
No, I've reminded us on that one.
The answer is Rokitansky. Question number 9. In their shared universe, which game is set first chronologically? Half-Life or Portal?
Half-Life.
Correct. Okay, it's all to win for in this one. Question number 10. What is the rabbit's name in Donnie Darko?
Not watched that one for a few years.
I've not seen it for ages. I don't remember.
Frank.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
I wouldn't have got that. I had no clue. Not a clue.
Okay, and Mr. Dave takes this one with 4, with Mr. P at 3.
Hey, 1-1.
Well, there we go. Congratulations, Mr. Dave.
Ah, thank you very much.
It was tight, very tight.
It was. It was. It was
Yeah.
very difficult one, though. That one.
The idea with the quizzes, of course, is that at the end of this series, the person who's lost more quizzes than the other will have to do a forfeit. We probably will put a post out to get suggestions on what that might be, so be having a think about that now.
Please let them be legal forfeits. We don't want to
Yeah.
be committing any crimes,
No,
do we?
no, we
Yeah,
don't. No.
and not anything that needs us to purchase air travel for thousands of miles either. Probably not be taking it that seriously.
No, no.
Something cheap and something legal.
Yeah, but still something kind of fun, but something kind of really uncomfortable for the person doing it because let's face it, that to forfeit, it's not a treat, you know. Anyway, have a think about it, and we'll come back to you about more of this in the coming weeks and months as we come towards the close of this first series of Showpod, which we are actually approaching.
Yes, we're getting there, aren't we? We're
getting there, yeah. Okay, Terminator. So let's skip ahead then. We've basically got two more films to cover. Now there's a big gap between 09's Salvation. We had Terminator Genisys, and this was in 2015, followed by 2019's Dark Fate. Okay, they're the two to finish up on. Now,
and in that film we had the nice link with one of our other franchise likes Doctor Who. We had Matt Smith in Terminator Genisys as the computer.
Yeah, that was quite cool actually. I liked Genisys. I thought it was a nice film.
Was that the one with Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones as well?
Yeah,
of course it was.
And Jai Courtney as Cal Reese.
Yeah, so it was a big movie for those three.
What I liked about this one, it's a timey-wimey one, and when the Terminator is sent back to 1984, he arrives, and it's the same bit of footage from the original, and it's Arnie, and he's there, and he sees some kids, and he's going to go and approach these kids because he's going to beat them up and nick their clothes like he does in the first one. But before he gets anywhere close to them, all of a sudden you've got this older Terminator in appearance, which is obviously Arnie, who then takes him out. And it's like, oh no, what's going on?
Schwarzenegger's going to die.
And he does. And what's happened is there's been a fracture in time. So the events that happened in the first one, although they kind of happen, they all start to happen very differently. Jethro, pick this up and talk us through it.
Right. I'll be honest, I've only ever seen this film once in the cinemas back in 2015.
Okay. You do have the... Oh, no, you've not got the DVD. It's not a DVD one, is it, this one?
No, I don't have this one. I'll be honest, a little caveat about Salvation. I'd say Genisys is my least favourite because I just found it meh, personally.
Okay.
I think it did go over a lot of people's heads, didn't it, when it came out at the time? And I was same as you. I saw it when it came out, and then I don't really think I've seen the whole film again since. It's a difficult one, and I mentioned earlier on that obviously Matt Smith starred in it, and there was an interview with him earlier, one of those, I don't know if it was Variety or GQ, where they talk about the different film roles and TV roles. And he spoke about Terminator Genisys and just said that it was a really difficult shoot. It was all blue screen. He didn't quite understand what he was supposed to be and how he connected to the rest of the film and the rest of the characters. He didn't get the information he would have liked to know everything about what he was playing and how that connected to everything. So he said it wasn't a very positive experience. But he was glad he did it because he was in a Terminator film, and that was a big thing. But yeah, I think like we said, I think Genisys tried to do something quite interesting, but it didn't execute it very well. It went over people's heads.
Part of this film is that in 1984, where the film starts, our heroes, the older Arnie, they've built another time machine, and they jump forwards
to 2017,
and she's been waiting for Kyle Reese to turn up so that they can jump forward to 2017, which is before Judgment Day, and stop it from happening.
Yeah,
basically. Now, what's lovely about this is the actor, of course, is a different actor who plays Kyle Reese, but they reproduced the scenes with him arriving with the new guy, who completely has gone out of my head now.
Jai Courtney.
Thank you. So, and that was fun. And what I loved about it was the machines, again, as it's always got to be balanced, have already sent someone knowing that's going to happen to try and stop him. But they end up jumping through time. They go to the future to stop Judgment Day again, of course, on a delayed one, 2017 Judgment Day. And I thought that was fun. And I thought it was fun how Arnie's Terminator that was, not the one they killed, but the one that was there that killed him. If this is going against you above your head, try watching all these films really quickly together, honestly.
And you may find the same situation.
Yeah.
Same
And
problems.
he ages, so obviously by the time you get to the future in the film, you've got Arnie himself playing himself, which, I mean, this was 2015, so he was still, it looked nothing like, of course, he did in the original, and he was knocking on a bit now. But I like the fact that this is old Terminator that she nicknames him. What does she nickname him? Pops.
Yes.
Which is quite funny. And and by the time they jump there, he's already set up somewhere with loads of weapons and stuff ready to take on stuff, because he'd had all this time between, essentially 1984, which is where they started, and 2015 to do this.
Yeah, and just imagine that he couldn't travel because his arm, his biological tissue got corroded away by acid, which meant that his endoskeleton was exposed, so he couldn't travel back in time.
Which again goes back to your argument of, well, how can the T-1000 do it then? But never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go with that.
Continuity.
So yeah, it was fun. I like it. Fractured in time, so on. That leads us on to Dark Fate. This was the newest one, 2019. I liked this because, a bit like what you said earlier, Jethro, you don't just get this happy ending, or should I say this happy beginning, because the film starts by sort of retconning some of the other films anyway, by saying that there wasn't just one Terminator sent back, the machine sent a second one back.
It's retconning like the previous one. Like it's law. If you have to make a Terminator film, you have to retcon the previous one.
And you get a lovely scene with them where John Connor's at the bar at some, Caribbean style bar island, and Sarah Connor sat there, and it's the voiceover again is basically, oh, we thought we'd sorted it, we took the Terminator out, we stopped Judgment Day, but then all of a sudden there's another Terminator just walks straight past her because she's not expecting it, gets the gun out and just blows John Connor straight away, and it's like, oh no, what's going on? And it's like, and she's like devastated, and then the Terminator just walks away, and it's like, oh, well, so everything they fought for in all those films has just gone to bugger straight away.
Crap now, yeah.
Now, then they do something very, very interesting. What does a Terminator do after it's actually terminated someone? And that's it, it's got nothing else to do. This has never come up before because they've always died. Even the good ones have died, helping the people stop them from the bad ones.
Yeah.
So now you've got a Terminator who can live a long time. It's a computer, it's a machine, but it's like, what do I do? And so they kind of come up with this idea that he needs a mission, so he'll have to give himself one, a purpose. And he finds a purpose by looking after a family who need help and protection. So he almost becomes the dad. He becomes dad to the son.
Yeah.
He becomes husband to the wife. They get married. It's not a. He does point out it's not a physical relationship. It's just one of a symbiosis. It works. But you do get the impression he cares for the kid and whatever. And then later on, he sort of, I wouldn't say developed a conscience, but he certainly thinks back on what he's done and realises, having his own family to look after, he realises what he's taken away from Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
So he starts to tell her when Terminators are coming through, because for some reason this one knows all of them. And so every time a Terminator is going to come through the time thing, he texts her and tells her and says for John at the end, so she doesn't know who it's him. So she goes, takes out the Terminators. Cut to current day as we're watching the film, and a Terminator comes through and it can't, because it couldn't find Sarah Connor because she's gone off the grid, and John Connor, well, he already killed him. But then in another film they came back and John Connor's around. But either way, don't worry about it. It's a bit up and down. The machine decides to go after his lieutenants instead. And the Terminator that goes after his lieutenant, I'm going to make this really quick now. Terminator that goes after his lieutenant comes back. Sarah Connor, an older Linda Hamilton, reprising the role, comes back and helps to stop the Terminator or slow it down. They then decide to go and find out where these messages are coming from, where they come across this really old T-800 model, which is the one that killed John Connor. So, of course, she's not happy with it, quite understandably, but eventually learns that she's going to have to work with it a bit. And he kind of then gives up his life looking after them to go and help take out this Terminator and save the world once again. And I just thought that interesting. What does a Terminator do was an interesting question, and that was probably when they were writing it was a thought.
After the mission's over.
Yeah, what do you do? And I liked it. And then at the end, of course, what you end up with was there's no John Connor, so she can't train her son up anymore. But she's got this lieutenant she can train up. So them to go off and they're still getting ready for the new Judgment Day, which is always going to happen. You can only ever postpone
it. It's like a fixed pointed time, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Judgment Day.
Or a fixed event, I should say, in time.
A corporate mandated event in order to make more movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. So I don't know. I liked it. What did you think about it, Dark Fate?
As I say, like I said earlier on, I kind of found that it felt like closer to T2. And I remember people making the film from the beginning said that that's what they were going for. They were kind of going for the Terminator 3 that they wanted to make, the T2 sequel that they wanted to make years ago that didn't happen. And I think they kind of do that with the fact that they bring back Arnie, they bring back Linda Hamilton, and they have them fighting together again. I thought that was really nice, and like you said, the fact about he gains like a humane side with obviously living with the family and learning more about humans and human life and stuff, and it changes the way he's set up, changes his programming a little bit as to how he looks at humans, how he looks at life. So I think it was an interesting premise. I think tonally it felt a little bit similar to T2. I think, I did enjoy it. I've only seen it once, but I did enjoy it.
I'm going to be more cynical than you. Where they said from the beginning, I know, they said from the beginning, this is going to be the proper sequel to T2. Yeah, they got James Cameron to say that. They gave him a load of money and said, can you say these good things about the sequel? And he doesn't have to mean it. He's been paid to do it. It's like, it's a check. I'll go do it. He did the same thing for Genisys. He did the same thing for... Well, actually, no, I'm not sure if he did the same thing for Salvation, but considering he said that about Genisys and how that turned out, I personally you hear a load of buzzwords about like the return to form and that, and it's like, but it's the sort of thing they say not because it actually is, but because they want to get the original fans back in to watch it in order to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit more cynical with that.
But on the other side of it, obviously you're saying they're saying that it's the spiritual successor to T2, and they're putting that mark on it to try and make it popular with the fans and try and sell more cinema tickets.
Yeah.
So he's kind of going away from that. Is your opinion that it doesn't feel like a spiritual successor to T2, and it doesn't feel more like in line with those original first two films than the ones that have come after?
I don't think the first two films have been matched in terms of vibe or quality. Personally, that's my personal opinion.
But I mean, we did say earlier, didn't we, that the first two set a very high bar, didn't they, quality-wise?
True, but again, I don't think any since have matched it. That being said, Terminator Zero, people have said that, oh yeah, it was returning more to the body horror elements to the first one.
Just to point out, Terminator Zero is the
Terminator
new
Zero.
film.
No, series. Netflix
Sorry,
series.
new series that's coming out starring Timothy Olyphant.
Yes. Is, yeah, say, oh yeah, it's going to be a more in line with the original film and the more body horror elements, which I want it to be good. Don't get me wrong, I do want it to be good.
But
I'm not
skeptical.
I'm skeptical. Yeah,
This is going to be an animated show as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the style of anime, so you've got that cyberpunk.
You can do a lot more with something when you're animating it or using just computer generated, because you can technically create anything. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, we're certainly going to watch it and see what we think, see what it's like, see which way they've gone with it, I think, aren't we?
I'm going to be skeptical, personally. Because, been burned so many times by the Terminator franchise, it's like, well, do I really want to trust it again? Or do I want to just be like, right, there's the first one and the second one, and that's it, that's all you need to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm that type of fan.
I mean, it's
Terminator
kind of
films.
similar, although it's not quite the same with like the Indiana Jones films. Obviously, they made the first three. They were kind of classed as the classic movies, and then they did the fourth, which was a big detraction and a lower quality than the previous films. And then the latest one, obviously, the Dial of Destiny, they said, oh, this is kind of like the spiritual successor to like the second indie film, or like it's more a return to form. So it's kind of similar with that, where they're kind of saying that they've with that one they're recapturing what they did in the first few films.
Yeah, but is that not one of the corporate buzzwords they use? Return to form or back to the original?
That if you have to say that about a franchise, it's got to the point where you've done too many, I think.
If you've got to return to form.
Yeah, you've done it so wrong in the past and gone way off. I don't know.
I like with Terminator, like we said, with different people involved in making the films, different studios, that people have looked at it in a slightly different way, haven't they, through different eyes, and you get that with projects when different people take it over.
With the time travel element to these films, you're able to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, even though he's getting older and older and older, and he can still take a part in the film, which is a lovely nod back to the first one, and the fact that he was, it made it so popular.
Yeah.
We never really got a Terminator, though, that was good. Apart from some McLeod's Terminator from the Sarah Connor Chronicles, we never really got a good Terminator as such, did we? Well, we did. We got Arnie. I mean, apart from Arnie.
Yeah.
But a lot of the villains were so bad. Can you imagine if they were good? And we had Mackenzie Davis, who played Grace in Dark Fate. Does it say what model she was?
I can't recall.
I don't even recall. And I watched it recently. She just calls herself Grace. Which I think is even more sinister, that you give her a name, in a way.
Yeah.
Just as a bit of trivia, actually, because we were talking before we started recording today, because we were talking about the sort of the modesty elements of filming these films, the nude elements of, because you have to come through naked through the pool, and how and how production works with that. We were talking about that. What's interesting is there's a scene in Dark Fate with Mackenzie Davis fighting two police officers at the beginning, which she did completely nude. She opted out of all the stuff and just said, sod it, I'll just do it nude, because it just work better.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't actually see her nude as such. It's filmed in such a way that you don't actually see anything you shouldn't see. But she just said that even for it's like 3 minutes on screen or whatever, it took like 8 hours to film or whatever it was. She felt like that was the best way to do that. And she felt quite comfortable doing that and was happy to do that. And it was her suggestion to do that.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah.
As a talking point.
Have you got any Terminator trivia for us, Mr. Jethro?
So, yeah, my bit of trivia is, despite having, like, pioneering CGI in the second film, there's still a lot of practical elements, and one of the more impressive scenes, I'd say, will be the nuclear explosion scene with the visions of Sarah Connor. And apparently the production teams found that the only time they didn't have fun was to have the bodies of the charred children be blown away by the shockwave. And to be honest, like watching it is pretty like, well, bit brutal, a bit jarring, but it definitely sells it. But yeah, that apparently they had so much fun behind it, but that was the one time they didn't have fun.
It's one of those moments, though, isn't it, where we need to sell this as such a devastating thing,
Yes.
right? It has to come across as this is the end of the world, for the most part.
Yeah.
And what better way to show that these machines are so evil than having this imagery?
Well, it's literally the end of the world that you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
No.
But it sells it, definitely.
I remember, in terms of a bit of trivia from me, I remember hearing about on Terminator 2 how Robert Patrick actually did a lot of the driving. You know, where he's in the truck and he's pursuing him down the slipway. And obviously John Connor and the Terminator on the motorbike in front, and they all actually did their own driving in that bit. And there was actually a point where the truck goes over the bridge where they actually damaged part of the bridge when the truck came over that they wasn't expecting. I think they had to pay for like repair after that, but they did a lot of their own stunts in that movie.
It's back. It was back in the day in '91. It was still back in the day when people did a lot of their own stunts, wasn't it? And they still used a lot of practical effects. But you cordon off part of the highway. It's a controlled environment. Every car there is being driven by a professional stunt driver, aside from maybe your actor who is doing the role. So even if he goes slightly left when he should have gone right, the others would adapt and move out of the way because they would anticipate that and do. So you've got a controlled environment. There's not a lot you can possibly do to screw it up, aside from something silly. If you're just driving pretty much in a straight line, there's not a lot you can do to really screw it up.
Yeah. They talked about the big explosion as well when the truck blows up at the end, and how big that explosion was, and he wasn't expecting it to be like so big and so hot and everything. He was just feeling like his head burning as they were driving off and things.
I seem to remember something about that where he said he didn't actually know if it had burnt him or not. Was that right? But he carried on anyway.
Like that, yeah.
He just carried on and thought, I'll just keep going and hope that it's all right, and it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's why it's a good film.
Yeah.
Will they bring Arnold Schwarzenegger back to voice the T800 model in the future project that's coming out? Well, it's coming out this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
We don't know much about it, do we, really? They've not
No.
really told us too much about it. Do we have a release date? We know it's this year.
29th of August.
It's approaching quite quickly. Though.
Yes.
29th of August.
That's Terminator 0, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a look.
Yeah, give that a go. And if you've not watched any of the Terminator films, what have you been doing? What planet have you been on? Go back and rewatch them because they are kind of cool.
And what are you doing watching this episode where we talk about it?
Yeah, it's all spoilt now.
Yeah.
So go back and see.
Well, you don't need to watch it now because you've heard us talk about it.
Yeah, that's it. We've just saved you a lot of hours.
Yes, you've been watching us for like about an hour, and we've saved you 12 hours. So you should be thanking us.
That's not a bad currency conversion, that is it? Yeah.
Oh dear, yes, and and to keep up to date with all the other stuff that we're going to spoil for you, you can catch up on our socials, or in fact on the website at geekyguys.co.uk. We will be back next time
We
with
will
another
be.
topic, another quiz. I didn't mean to do that on purpose.
Of course you didn't.
I didn't, and I was going to say a line earlier, which was Linda Hamilton gets to say that line in Dark Fate. She goes down off the bridge and says, "I'll be back." I think she says, "I'll be back in a minute." And even Arnie uses the line in, is it T2, when he blows the other one up, and then he's like, "He'll be back," which is quite funny. Anyway, sorry, but we will in fact be back later on with another video, another quiz.
Yes.
So catch us then.